Good day to you, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to 26 Minutes with the podcast. It's the podcast that inspires people to lead, and we talk to impact makers and those that are here to make the world just a bit better place to be. And our guest today is no exception to that rule. It's Kelly McCormick, and she and I actually go back quite a few ways. Kelly inspired me to get into the work I do in terms of teaching and coaching entrepreneurs. Kelly has actually led her own successful business through two recessions. And as a business and marketing speaker, coach, and author, she's helped thousands of others to grow their businesses in any type of economy. Her clients include international organizations and corporations, small businesses, and entrepreneurs. And we're talking today. I mean, if you haven't heard, they've been talking the R word for a while, and some maybe even think that we're in it now. So we're talking today about leading your small business through a recession. And the times definitely have changed over the past 3.5 years. The economy with it, and the uncertainty and kind of is also in the air. And even Kelly, I heard on the news yesterday. It's the 27th. 27th as we record this. I heard on the news yesterday that in the U.S. there's a potential to shut down the services due to monetary and economic pressures and concerns, so that there could be a shutdown in the U.S. And this is not doesn't bode well for the economic confidence. So let's dive in. First of all, welcome, and it's always good to have you with us
Thank you.
and connect.
Thank you, David.
So,
yeah.
My first question is this: like, we talked off air about recession proofing your business. You've survived two of them. What are maybe 5 key areas to look at in terms of recession proofing our business?
Well, we only have 26 minutes, so if it's okay, I'd like to delve into just a few things
Yeah.
and that I think are pretty key right now. And I say just a few things because I think people are feeling overwhelmed. And I really subscribed in these times to simple is better. So the first thing is it's a mind frame. And it was very interesting when I was listening to that news thing that, the whole world is going to fall apart. Maybe, maybe not. Are we in tough times? Yes. So the first thing I want to talk about is our mindset. Because literally with working with thousands of people, what I have discovered is I can teach all the tools in the world, but if people don't have the right mindset, they're going to self-sabotage. So when I say the right mindset, one of the things that I have done, and my business has flourished in recessions, and other people's businesses have, and others have fallen by the wayside. And I intentionally tune out a lot of the noise because then I get into fear if I listen to it. And when you're in fear, you can't think straight. You just can't because you're spending your time in worst case scenarios. So the first thing is get whatever works for you. For me, I have a personal mantra. I'll figure this out. And I always do. It's like there'll always be a way. It may not be the way I thought it would be, but there's always a way. And one of the things my mother always said to me was, Kelly, stick with the winners. And it was probably some of the best business advice, Mom. Thank you. And by that, I mean stay around people who are accepting the realities of the situation, but looking for solutions and looking at ways to adapt. Because if we stick around people who are just going to talk about how bad it is, how bad it's getting, all the stats, all the numbers, you're not even going to want to get out of bed. I mean, it's just like that. This is the time for your positive mastermind groups. This is the time to be doing your visioning. This is the time to I'd say have a plan, because when I get in fear, I have to go back and see, oh yeah, I've got a plan. and I need to look up the plan. What was the plan? Because I can't even remember my darn plan. So I write my plan down. So let's shift into the first thing that people want to look at is the mentality of customers, consumers, and even ourselves during recessions. And what happens is, and think about this for your own self, we focus on purchasing just the necessities.
Right.
Okay. Now we all define necessities differently, but we're already seeing it right now. The numbers are in for restaurants, the soft sales, throughout the summer. And again, I'm not trying to teach doom and gloom, but these are realities. So if people focus on necessities, you might say to yourself, oh my gosh, like business coaching, if I looked at my own example, isn't a necessity. Well, things are if they're of value to someone. So my first tip is to take a look at your products and services and look at your key ones that would help someone through these times and get rid of the rest. I
Mhm.
mean, Nike's amazing for this. Whenever they, and iPhone, hate to, talk about some of the big competitions, but a lot of them, if you look on some of their websites, when they introduce a new product, they get rid of other things. So you want to keep it really simple. So I'm going to give a couple of examples. Like a massage therapist might say, well, gosh, a massage isn't a necessity. Well, maybe it is during a recession
Yeah, for sure.
because how you promote it. Okay. And this is more than anything, we have to not talk about the features. It's Swedish, it's this, it's that, it's all these modalities. People don't care if we're bottom lining it, what are the results? So now you're going to put on your website or on your Instagram description that these are stress reducers to keep yourself in balance in uncertain times. Financial services to recession proof your business. For me, okay, I'll use my own self. For me, I help people to really define what their offerings are. And so for me, it would be so to stay competitive in uncertain times, so you really want to take a look at, I'll just recap, what are your key products and services, get rid of the rest, ditch talking about the features, I write this, I do this, get right into what are the benefits of what it is you're offering.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
And
outcome.
yeah.
It's the outcome. Like, what do you get? Right.
Yeah. And more than anything, and I say that and people say, well, this is kind of basic stuff. We all know this. You wouldn't believe how many businesses, and I don't care how long they've been in business, if I ask them, what is the benefit of your service? They just talk, they can't really tell me because for a long time, people have been so busy delivering their products and services that they don't really have to explore this. But when we get into tight times economically, we're in a whole different mindset. You really need to know what the benefits are for people who are just purchasing necessities. And why would that be a necessity? I have another client who makes natural skincare products and hair products. Now, you might think, well, gosh, that's a little expensive and that's a luxury right now. Not necessarily, because here's one of the things, I tried the products and I realized that her no chemical shampoo that's in a bar lasts, oh, I don't even know, months. So it's actually, in addition to keeping you healthy, it's extreme value for the money. So we've shifted her selling proposition from luxury to lux with value because that's what we're looking at right now. If I only have these many pennies, where do I put them? So that's my first, well, I guess that's my second tip. My first one is keep your mindset right. Now, really get clear on your products and services. The other thing that I think is very beneficial to people is to have strategic alliances. David, you're a master at this. You have got a network of people and connections to help you out. So let me give a few examples of strategic alliances. If you have a store, let's say you're retail, you may want to team up with somebody who sells something that's a companion to what you sell, and two of you cross promote each other on Instagram. Do a live, introduce their products to your customer, have them do a live, introduce, have them introduce your necessity products to their customers. I work with someone in the financial services, and oh my gosh, the secret to this guy's success is, so he does financial services for individuals, investment planning.
Yeah.
So his strategic alliances are with uh, lawyers who do estate planning, accountants who manage personal and business stuff. Because how do we buy? We buy by trusted referrals. Yes, a lot of us know this stuff, but this is the time now to intentionally say, hey, pick up the phone. We all know what's going on. Look, we don't know what we're headed for right now. It could be super bad the way they're predicting. We could sail through this, but this is the time I'd like to talk to you about having strategic referral alliances. So, and I know you know a bit about my business. Maybe we could have a coffee and I could tell you more about what I offer. I could get a deeper understanding of your business so that when I'm asked for an accountant or I'm asked for this, so a companion product, I know exactly how to direct them to you. And only do this, by the way, with people whose work you admire,
Yes.
because your business reputation is attached to the referral that you give.
Yeah. Exactly. And and if you're asking for referrals, you want to ask people that know you and love you already as well. You can't ask a prospect who doesn't know you or has no, idea of what you do to to cough up some referrals. You really want to be working with, and asking people that love you, know you, worked with you, and are more than willing to share out to their tribe, right?
Or ask for an introduction.
Yeah.
That's actually another way to do it is, hey, so and so, who I know we both know mutually and who I respect, has suggested that there could be potential cross referrals stuff here.
Yeah.
Another thing, and I know it sounds, I'm going to go kind of retail and in the service industry too. This is the best time for your punch cards. You know, every time you buy your customer loyalty programs, you get 20% off, because we're all looking for a deal right now. And now the service version of that is a referral program. Hey, if you like my services, I'm open to new clients. And if you refer someone to me, you get 10% off or whatever your percentage is from your next service as my thank you to you, because I recognize that this is important. I've helped people set up these referral programs in all sorts of industries, and they literally let their satisfied customers lead the next person to them, and then they reward them with a percentage off as a thank you.
I go to a nice coffee shop up in Richmond Hill, just north of,
Yeah,
and I always meet colleagues there, right? And I bring a lot
right.
of new people to this, cafe. And I spoke to the owner once, and I said, you see me come in here a lot with new people. I'm going to suggest you have a little, your next coffee is on us card to give to my guest. And what that'll do, they'll first will enjoy the experience because we're there together. But then it
Mhm.
also, it's bringing in new people. Like my people can become his people, right? So I gave
Right.
the idea, and really I shouldn't have, but I did. And he never really acted on it. And to me, that was just that's like a brilliant idea,
And he may act on it in a couple of months.
Maybe.
You may refresh his memory of this, because right now I think people are, well, where's this going to go? I know people are already starting to feel it in their sales, but this is where as I said again, that here's what I've noticed: the people who flourish or even keep going, okay, through recessions tend to be good at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that my father would call them the tire kickers, they're
Mm-hmm.
the ones that when they would be looking at a used car, they just kick the tires, talk a lot, and not do anything. The people who aren't that great necessarily slide off quickly. Others who are over leveraged financially, it can be a tough go. And now, having said that, when I was in my 20s, um, that's when the first recession I went through, and we had a loan, my 22-year-old business partner and I, that his father, excuse me, co-signed for, no pressure, right? And the interest was more than the principal. Okay, and that's when at 21 I learned about interest and principal. So it was like, okay, we had no choice. We couldn't fold because his father had co-signed this. You know, the house is on the line, the whole thing is on the line. And my point with this is we found ways to get very strategic and to build relationships and everything that I'm talking to you about at 21 and 22 years old. So even if you're saddled with a lot of debt, don't get into your head about, I'll never make it through. Okay, I'll never make it through. This is when you really need to say, I will make it through. I'm going to find a way.
It's almost like being
The other,
the little train that
yeah.
comes, you know. We're listening to 26 Minutes with us as our guest, Kelly McCormick.
Mhm.
We're talking about recession proofing the business. You were going to add
Mhm.
something just now about that to build on to that.
Well, no, I was actually reflecting. I was living in California, so I'm a Canadian, but I was also living in California during the 2008
Oh,
mortgage
yeah.
debacle.
Yes.
I moved down and within a year or something, and I was doing professional speaking then. I was on the big stage. My target market at that point was the building industry. Now, here's some ironies, right? Like, could you get a not recession-proof business?
Yeah.
The building industry, the home decor industry. Okay. And what happens? The whole housing industry tanks. So the companies who had hired me to speak to their um, sellers, their independent businesses, their franchisees, they pulled back big time
Mhm.
because they're freaked out. And I'm like, oh boy, I've put everything on the line to be here. And it's amazing when you feel like you don't have a choice, you have to keep going. It's quite a motivator. It is quite a motivator. So I was like, okay, I spent some time phoning and trying new target markets and no bites, no bites. Okay. So I thought, okay, I need to pivot here. And what is it that people need? What market can use my services? The big organizations, the big stuff, they're closing up right now.
Mhm.
And I thought, okay, mid-sized businesses, entrepreneurs who've invested a lot in their businesses, they need to figure out a way to get through this because this is their livelihood. And I thought, okay, I'm going to shift gears. This is my target market. And it's actually one I love because it's close to my heart. Um, so I thought, okay, what is it they need? And it's similar to what I'm offering now. It's like how to recession proof your message, how to define which products and services to sell, how to set up things so that other people are selling those key things for you and putting those things into place. And people say, well, why couldn't people do that themselves? Because they're overwhelmed, you know, and there's a prong approach, you know, and then there's like, well, why would I spend money to do this during a recession? And I often say to people, well, here's one way to look at it. If you don't spend the money, which could be a great return on your investment, you're going to pay that money in taxes to the government. And every time I look at my decisions that way, it's very fascinating how I make them. So I rejigged. And then I thought, okay, I need to connect and network. I don't have a network down here. So I contacted I went to different business groups. I just found business groups and introduced myself and started my own cross referring by getting to know them. I checked out their websites, tell me about your services, and I did everything that I'm telling you to do. And that's how I got myself out of what was a horrible, horrible downfall in the economy in the
Oh yeah.
US.
Yeah, and here too, I remember Kelly, you'd like this story, working with with the Ontario Self-Employment Benefit Program in Whitby at the time. And one of my clients was a home stager, and she came in almost in tears. It was October
Hmm.
2008. She said, it's dried up. There's nothing doing. And I went, well,
Yeah.
let's breathe, calm down, let's get centered. And we went
Yeah.
online and we did a Google check, a Google News check on her industry, right? Home stagers. And we found a
Good.
story, an article from a Florida magazine. And Florida got really hard hit by that debacle, right? The real estate debacle. And the article said that even in this economy, homes that are staged are still getting 9% more on the resale value of the house, and they're selling faster than the homes that aren't. And I went, her name was Deborah. And I said, Deborah, I'm going to sound like
There
the
you
guy.
go.
I'm going to sound like the guy on Seinfeld. This is gold, Jerry.
Yeah.
This is gold. I said, just use this in your marketing
Yeah.
messaging. So she would do now calls and use it word for word. Hey, Joe, Joe, real estate agent, studies show that homes that are staged are getting 9% more and selling faster. If that's a result you'd like, I'd love to come in, show you our portfolio and our work and show you how we can get that for you and more. Guess what happened? Come on. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And
I,
she did exactly what we talked about right at the top of the show,
yeah,
right? It's like, okay, how do I help people to make this buying decision? Why would this, if people are pulling back on their spending, how do I help them to see that this is actually the place that's going to be of value for your money, a return on your investment to get things happening? That's awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome. And it's amazing that only with a 9% return, because some people could say, well, that, in good times, they could say, well, that's not a very, high return. But in lean times, it's like, that's awesome.
it's amazing.
Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, more than the asking price. It is amazing. So what I've heard from you is really get clear as to what your value is. Watch your mindset. Joint venture, collaborate. I have a couple more really key questions. Do we
Sure.
market more or less in this time? Do we go all out or pull back in?
I think it's marketing time. It's getting your face in front of people now. I really do. And having said that, you need to go back to step one that we were talking about, which is get really clear on the products and services that would be necessities for people and why they would be necessities. And then you can still do it on a shoestring with, as I mentioned, with strategic alliances, right? You find other people who have similar target market than you have and do lives with them, do, promote things. This is the time to really uh, have people see who you are, but you're not selling, you're informing. And that's a big difference because
Yes.
oh man, I worked with somebody and every post she had on Instagram, every post was about an upcoming event. And she had no traction. And I said, because, you're not giving anybody any value. You haven't demonstrated what it is you do. So we had a thing where she started doing lives, giving tips, and all of a sudden, boom, things took off. Things were shared, people thanked her, and that brought the business in. So don't confuse selling with marketing. Marketing is about getting your name out there, showing that you are the solution provider and demonstrating it.
Yeah. What about is it a good time to hire help and get some people in to help you?
Well, as I said, I think you need to be strategic about it.
Yes.
This is like, is this going to be a return on the investment? Is this going to help me to grow the business or not? And I think this is the time when you have to do your own assessment of it. As I mentioned, for me, I often get more people in and it's a very niche market for me. It's people who say, okay, I've been an entrepreneur. I've got a lot invested in this. As I say, this is my livelihood. This is how I support myself. This will be value for money to help be strategic. That won't be. And I do the same in my own business during these times. It's like, what is, all of a sudden there's subscription services where I start to look at and go, is it really helping my business or is it making me feel better? I'm being strategic too. We all are, it's like, why not? So I think I think you have to have a criteria for making decisions. Just don't make decisions because you're panicking. What's your criteria for making the decision? Is it going, and I'd say the simplest one is this going to help you to sustain or grow your business? Bottom line. And if it isn't, even if you need some help, if you're retail or whatever, get those kids off the devices, get them in there with a smile on their face. You know, get who, bring
Right.
in Aunt Mildred who can talk to anybody.
And also, like take advantage of grants and programs, employment programs. I know in the summer the government sometimes provides money to a business owner to hire students. Um, I think that's really important to look at. As we wrap up, I got a couple of questions left. You know,
Sure.
sometimes we look at it, and I like that you address the mindset. Like, stay clear of the negative noise and news, and just put the blinders on and focus. Because in the depression, there were more millionaires created than at any time before. So, here are my last two questions. There is a benefit to a slowdown too. Do you want to share what some benefits are? For me, I think it's a time too the if we're talking about recession, to revise, revamp, recreate your business idea. What's your take on that?
I wholeheartedly agree with that, David. Whether it's retail, whether it's service, it's an opportunity to take a look around and go, what's working, what isn't working, what do I need to do? And sometimes I remember, when you're super, super busy, like I remember the times when I was so busy on the road, training, I'm writing my book, I'm, interviews, and I couldn't stay ahead of what was coming next in trends and stuff. And I would almost welcome the like, oh, summer slowdown. Yay. So I could kind of reevaluate, get myself into the current group and feel good because otherwise I wasn't feeling good about it. I was feeling like I'm slipping here.
Yeah, you need.
Okay, what's the final question? I can hardly wait to
Okay,
hear what
last
it is
question
and what
is,
I have to.
is this, like you mentioned, really be mindful of your mental mindset to overcome the negativity and the bad economic news in the media, and in even in the social media world too. People are a bit doomy and gloomy. So what's your take on that? Just really
Yeah,
um really
um,
caring
it,
for your
yeah,
mental mindset.
I think it's a fine balance of staying informed. Um, because I'm a person who's like, I always need to know. I've always been like research motivated and I love to know. However, I noticed that, man, it's really throwing me off, a lot of this stuff. So I'm being I'm now putting a time limit on how much I look at the stuff. And then if I start to feel um hopeless or whatever, I
Yeah.
shift. I'm done. I move on. And I spend as much time creating, okay, you've been here before, you'll get through it. You're always protected. Everything's cool. How are we going to do this? And I'm also, so as much as I have been muting some people, I'm doing it, and I've done this before in my personal and professional life too.
Yeah.
Because I know that some people at this time, when I'm working on staying positive no matter what, and it's not being naive, it's just, I got to get myself through this. There are some people that it's now toxic to listen to them, and it's draining me more than it's uplifting me. And if anything, if you don't have a mastermind group, I really suggest if you know some people that are solution oriented, you get a little group together, you meet once a week so that you can support one another, not talk about doom and gloom. But this is the time to really pull your positive support team in. For a long time, I didn't even know about mastermind groups, and it was my mother. She was like, awesome, like, okay, let's figure this out. Let's find another way.
Yeah.
My mother had never run a business in her life, but she knew
No,
how to
but
get
she
stuff done.
very competitive business having, the fact that I know you. I mean, she was in the film
Yeah.
industry. That's not an
Yeah.
easy business to be in.
Yeah, that's true. They did have a video production company and it got pretty doggy dog at times. There's no getting around. Yeah, you're right. So yes, I sorry, mom should give you more credit for all of that.
One thing I notice with you is you're always out and on walks, and I think that that's another last little piece we need to be mindful of, is to really super care for our bodies and our health and what we're putting in, and exercising, because if you're no good, then you're no good to anybody.
I agree. One of my clients, Kathy Ireland, remember Kathy Ireland, the supermodel? She
Yeah,
was a Sports Illustrated supermodel, and then
right.
she, after retiring, built herself into a billion-dollar brand with all her home, with all her alliances. And she was a client, believe it or not, for one of her product lines. I taught her people selling. And it's kind of a funny story. The first time I met her in Nashville, and they said, okay, we need you in a room before you go to speak. She's going to come in and speak to you. I'm like, gosh, it's getting really close to the event. Is her plane going to be on time? And they said, she's in her own jet. I said, well, of course she is. I thought, oh my gosh, my breeding's showing. But anyway, I'll, so she came in, but she had to be one of the most, so I had this setup thinking, wow, who's this person going to be? She was very humble and she was very astute. And I watched her a lot. And one of the things that she said, from having had her first business go bankrupt, and she's very open about that, is that you always need to put your oxygen mask on yourself first.
Yeah,
And I have never forgotten. I actually feel emotional about it. I think, my gosh, here I am working for her, and I'm also learning from how she has learned a lot, chosen to learn from her own life experience and share it with others. And I wholeheartedly agree. Yeah, put the oxygen mask on yourself first.
yeah, really important. Where do we get a hold of you to work with you or find out more?
Sure. So I have a website and it's 3 words. You may not guess it, but I'll tell you what they are. I'll say it and then I'll say it slowly the way, and that's the other thing. When you leave your business name on people's phones, say it slowly so they can understand it. So it's out, OUT, sell, SELL, yourself.com. Outsellyourself.com. And I have a contact button there. And yeah, you shoot me an email. And I always do a discovery call with people, just so you know, because I think it's very important for both of us to know if it's the right fit. Because yeah, that's just the way it is. And I know you work similarly,
Yeah,
David, that
yeah,
it has to be a fit for both parties. So thank you, David, for allowing me to share some stuff learned from
yeah. And
some rocky roads.
oh yeah, there have been. Again, Kelly, I want to thank you. I want to thank those for listening to 26 Minutes with the podcast that's geared to, to inspire people to lead, to make an impact and make the world just maybe a little bit better. If you like what you hear, you want to share it out, please click the like button, share it, comment. If you want to connect with me, brand new website that I'm launching. It's called yourbigventure.com, and you can learn more about the work I'm doing. And Kelly, what a joy to see you and have you and be with you today. And our friendship and connection goes back to, believe it or not, 1999. We've
Wow.
survived a few things over those years.
Yeah. Holy gosh.
I know.
And we still look fabulous, David, even
I
for
know.
radio.
No, yeah, I know. We do have a voice for it. Oh my. Thank you so much. And again, thanks to those listening today. Have a great week. We're back next week with another look at how to recession proof your business. A new book coming out about protecting your money with money coach Michael Santinato. So that's coming up next week. Until then, have a great week, everyone.